Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 10 and we will present Transcendentalism in Poetry. The concept of the union between nature macrocosm and the individual microcosm. The third concept of macrocosm and microcosm presents the idea that there is a corresponding similarity in pattern, nature, or structure between human beings and the universe. The concept of microcosm or macrocosm views man as a smaller representation of the universe, and the universe as an anthropomorphic existence. This concept is found throughout the history of thought, from ancient times through the Renaissance, and in various religious traditions, including Buddhism and the Upanishads. Similar concepts were held by Hermetic philosophers like Paracelsus and by Baruch Spinoza, Leibniz, and later by Friedrich Schelling in 1775 until 1854. This idea, however, generally declined after the 17th century along with the development of modern science. After modern times, this idea was mainly preserved in the realm of literature in works by as novelists in 1772 until 1801, a German Romanticist poet, and Baudelaire 1821 until 1867, a French poet, as well as by some philosophers listed above. Although Plato did not use the terminology, a clearer concept of macrocosm or microcosm is found in his Timaeus. He wrote on the idea of the soul of cosmos in its anthropomorphic representation. Therefore, we may consequently state that this world is indeed a living being endowed with a soul and intelligence, a single visible living entity containing all other living entities, which by their nature are all related. Self-reliance and self-exploration to the nature. Self-reliance. Emerson and other transcendentalists believe that nature, rather than society, institutions, or the church, is the ultimate source of truth about the self, God, and existence. As Emerson put it in another essay he wrote, the foregoing generation beheld God and nature face to face with through their eyes. Why should not we also enjoy an original relation to the universe? In this quote, Emerson is saying that while previous generation connect directly to God and nature, the modern generation connects to those things only through the institutional livings of the previous generations. Emerson advocates not settling for such an indirect connection, and he argues that actually engaging with nature offers the means of gaining the direct connection to existence, and as a consequence, a deeper understanding of the self and self-reliance. Emerson believed that the sense of being which in calm hours rises, we know not how, in the soul is not diverse from things, from space, from light, from time, from man, but one with them, and proceeds obviously from the same source whence their life and being also proceed. In this passage, Emerson makes the case for that unity of things and describes the way that people can experience those calm hours of nature in which they then experience unity. And about self-exploration is the process to find out what is valuable to self by investigating within myself. What is right for self and true for self has to be judged within self too. Once we start paying attention towards investigating into our present beliefs and aspirations, we get to know whether our aspiration and what we really want to be. Example, what is naturally acceptable to us. are one and the same or not. If they are the same, then it is no problem, but if the two are different, it means that we are leading a life against our natural acceptance. Such a life cannot bring us happiness. Self-exploration is a process of discovering that there is something innate, invariant, and universal in all human beings. This enables us to look at the confusion and contradiction within us and resolve them by becoming aware of our natural acceptance. Once we start observing inside, we can achieve harmony at all levels of our living. Content of self-exploration involves finding answers for the following fundamental question of all the human beings. 1. The desire, goal, or aspirations. What is my desire or goal? What do I really want in life? Or what is the goal of human life? Number 2, the program. What is my program for fulfilling my aspiration? How to fulfill it? What is the program to actualize the above? In short, the above two questions covers the whole domain of human aspiration and human endeavor. Thus, they form the content of self-exploration.
I will explain the concept of living in simplicity. Small and meaningful things were as well as big symbol. Concept of living in simplicity is like we as human. We must have appreciation for things we may not have noticed before. Just like a child who just enjoyed the horizon with joyful eyes, he did not more than that. When we first started exploring minimalism, we thought that finding simplicity meant creating the perfect minimalist life. So, if it is connected in making poetry, poets do not have to make long form, because every word will become a form that has its own meaning, and every relationship is a new word. Maybe that's how simplicity is. A difference between romantic and transcendentalism. Romantic and transcendentalism are closely related. However, there are certain concepts that are emphasized in both. This may be focused on a person's individuality, nature, philosophies, or spirituality. Romanticism started in Europe during the 18th century. It is an artistic, intellectual, and literary movement that shaped the start of the Industrial Revolution. The movement emphasized an aesthetic experience identifying its emotion as anxiety, awe, terror, and horror. Transcendentalism also started during this period. The term is coined from transcendental philosophy by Immanuel Kant. The transcendentalists have a strong faith in the power of divinity, nature, and individualism. However, these beliefs are relative to that of the Romantics. Moreover, the Transcendentalists believe that God is the center of the universe and respect should be given to Him. Ralph Waldo Emerson is one of the most popular Transcendentalists even to now. He believed that wisdom and self-realization are the key for growth. This concept also relates with good and bad. The lack of self-growth and terror among fellows generates evil, and happiness and generosity are the good result of an act. Romantics believe in this concept as well. However, they likely stressed the power of good in preventing evil. Romanticism and Transcendentalism have always been a literary movement appreciated in both American and British literature. It may have been forgotten due to the expansion of contemporary ideas and modernism. But movements draw inspiration from something beyond the ordinary or something external from a human perception. This made it very popular during the second half of the 18th century. And for the summary, Romanticism educates strong emotion and exemplifies significant event. Romanticism is not about soft music, candlelit dinner, or fine dining. It is about a strong motivational force that focuses on patriotism, loyalty, and allegiance. Transcendentalism is the power of knowledge to transcend intellectual growth and spirituality. It's also highly the power of divinity, nature, and individualism. Romanticism exemplifies the importance of emotion and freedom over intellectual growth. They believe that everyone should follow what they're feeling. Transcendentalism draws inspiration from the beyond or external to the human perspective, even beyond reasoning and normal tradition. And transcendentalists talk in poetry. Additionally, according to Emerson, every word was on form. The foot 18 and languages is positive poetry. The foot 22. This statement shows that the essence of languages and even words can be seen as poetry because they reflect the image which lies at their bottom. Man 473. And therefore, every word which is a symbol of nature at the same time fulfills his expectation of a form. In his views, poetry also can be seen as the first languages which existed. For Emerson, even a single word, when it is created on the basis of nature, can be already identified as poetry. So, poetry is something which in his views is produced out of human experience on the basis of nature and thus has a symbolic characteristic. But poetry also serves as a purpose. In Emerson's views, poetry is essentially an approach to truth, a decoding of the enigma of nature and man. Hallengren 281. By naming things of the words in poetry, people are enabled to understand the secret of the world and to gain insight into its truth. This works because people are inspired when they read a poem which touches them, and therefore they are set free of our their chain. The poet 12. See the meaning behind things and begin to interpret them. In this case, things become clear to them and they are enabled to gain insight into the higher truth of the world which are reflected in poetry. The fourth 12.
Human expression as individual uniqueness. Emerson emphasized the place of human will the expression of human power in harnessing nature. Nature is made to serve man. We take what is useful from it and forming a sense of the universe and giving greater or lesser weight to particular aspect to suit our purpose. Even framing nature according to our own image of it. Emerson goes on to discuss how to intuitive reason provide his insight into the ethical and spiritual meanings behind nature. All things are moral, he proclaims, and therefore every aspect of nature conveys the laws of right and wrong. Nature thus form the proper basis for religion and ethics. Moreover, the use of particular faculty of nature as described in commodity don't exhaust the lesson this aspect can teach. When we progress to perception of their higher meaning as well. Emerson depicts moral law as lying at the center of the circle of nature and radiating to the circumference. He asserts that man is particularly susceptible to the moral meaning of nature and return to the unity of all nature particular. Each object is a microcosm of the universe. Through analogy and resemblance between various expressions of nature, we perceive its sort and universal spirit. Moreover, we apprehend universal order through thought, through our grasp of the relationship between particular universal truths, which are related to all other universal truths. Emerson builds upon his circle imagery to suggest suggests the all-encompassing quality of universal truth and the way it may be approached through all of its particulars. Unity is even more apparent in action than in thought, which is expressed only imperfectly through language. Action, on the other hand, as perfection and fabrication of thought, express thought more directly, because word and conscious action are uniquely human attributes. Emerson holds humanity up as the pinnacle of nature, incomparable, the richest information of the power and order that lie at the heart of things. Each human example is a point of access into the universal spirit as an expression of nature. Humanity too has its educational use in the progression toward understanding higher truth. Okay, next slide. The nature is the worthiest resources for the poet's power. Emerson then discusses the way in which the poet communicates his own power over nature. The poet sees nature as fluid and malleable, as raw material to shape to his own express purpose, inspired by intuition and imagination. He changes and reduces fake of nature according to his creative state. He provides an ideal interpretation of nature that is more real than concrete nature, as it exists independent of human agents. The poet, in short, asserts the predominance of the soul over matter. Emerson looks to philosophy, science, religion, and ethics for support of the subordination of matter to spirit. He doesn't uniformly approve of the position assigned to nature by each of these disciplines, but nevertheless find that they all express an idealistic approach to one degree or another. He points out that although the poet aims toward beauty and the philosopher toward truth, but subject the other in relation within nature to human thought in order to find higher absolutes, laws, and spiritual realities. Scientists too may elevate the spiritual over the material in going beyond the accumulation of particulars to single, composite, enlightening formula. And although they distrust nature, the traditional religion and ethic also promote the spiritual and moral over the physical. And idealism, Emerson again takes up the capacity of all men to grasp the ideal and universal. Intellectual inquiry casts doubt upon the independent existence of matter of focus upon the absolute and ideal as a higher reality. It encourages approaching nature as an appendix to the soul and a means of access to God. Although these complex ideas are expressed by specialists in intellectual science, they are nevertheless available to all. And when any man reaches some understanding of divinity, he becomes more defined and renews himself physically and as well as spiritually. Knowledge of the ideal and absolute brings confidence in our existence and confers a kind of immortality which transcends the limitation of space and time. Okay, that's all for us, and thank you very much, and thank you so much and for your interest and intention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.